Hey my sugar bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, J. Nicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get to the commentary where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo?
Hey y'all, it's your girl J. Nicole, and you are tuned in to the Bougie AF channel where I say stay bougie on them, and I'm serving you feminism for the soul. Don't forget to check me out on them people's Instagram at OG_Bougie AF. You can also check me out on them people's Twitter at I'm_Bougie_AF. You can also check me out on them people's TikTok at She Bougie AF. So we are here for a little bit more sports conversation. Told y'all I'm a sports fan, and we going into a new season. Can't wait till basketball, football, and everything comes back. With that being said, we are talking about Mr. Michael Jordan. Okay, he out here texting folks, and for me, Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time in terms of basketball. I think that goes without saying. If we're talking about one player that you must have on your team, it's Michael Jordan. And then when it comes to just like that conversation of the greatest of all time, like for each positions, that could be different, right? Because Michael Jordan is a guard. He was not a point guard, right? So I guess he felt and had some opinions about the conversation that's being had currently about the greatest of all time in terms of a point guard, right? And let me tell y'all, Michael Jordan is just an amazing man to me. I have always been a fan. 23 is a lucky number for me. I like that number. I love that color for UNC in terms of the Tar Heels. I represent the Tar Heels. I'm a big fan of them in the NCAA because of Michael Jordan. Y'all should be picking up by now, like, my taste in men. Like, it shouldn't be that hard, right? If I love me some Michael Jordan, and I love me some Shannon Sharp, right? And I love me some Curtis, 50 Cent Jackson, right? And I just said that Kwame is handsome himself, Stephen A. I most definitely got a particular type that I do like, okay? I think that's really important when I feel like it's as though people be just like assuming I like them or like I'm attracted to them. I think that's really, really weird. It's sort of like, hey, I know you may think all black women just like desperately like anything that comes their way, but not I, okay? I like a certain type of man. With that being said, Michael Jordan is on two lists for me. The sexiest. Oh, don't forget Morris Chestnut. We can't forget that chocolate handsome. Okay, but oh, and Denzel Washington. Can't forget him too. But Michael Jordan's on those two lists for me. He's on the list of the sexiest of all time, finest. Oh, just that nigga list. I'm just gonna call it just that nigga list for me. That's a personal list. We ain't comparing lists, and if you take my list, I'm gonna feel some sort of way. All right, so he's on that list for me, and then he's also, of course, on the greatest of all time in terms of basketball. But the conversation is being had about point guard, and currently the conversation is being had about Steph Curry and the Magic Johnson. Right now, I am, of course, a Boston Celtics girl to the core. I come from the number one sports, championship city in the United States when it comes to the New England, Boston area. Right, there's no other city that gives it up like my city does in terms of sports, right? And that's all the sports. We show up. Okay? So on a consistent basis, Boston is always in the conversation. I don't care if you're talking about our Celtics. I don't care if you're talking about our Patriots. I don't care if you're talking about our Bruins, soccer, whatever, hockey. We in there. All right? All right, so with that being said, and I don't know if y'all know, I think I may do a separate video on this, or maybe not, maybe so, I don't know. But Massachusetts has also been voted the number one state to live in the United States for 2023. I am oh so proud about that because I be on the people's Nick Johnson's. Oh, this is taking me. I don't know how I ended up here, but just talking about my state and stuff like that. It has its benefits. It has its downfalls. It's not perfect, but when I took y'all to Memphis and we drove around, y'all looked in the background, when you get to see inside of somebody's house, when you got to see a little bit of Memphis, and if you go to Nick Johnson, you see the rest of these states. I think it's just hands down, why Massachusetts is just the bomb diggity. All right, so let's get back on track, right? So talking about sports, right? So I guess Michael Jordan heard the conversation Stephen A. Smith was having about the greatest of all time, and some people, was choosing Steph Curry. And so Mike decided he wanted to weigh in on it. So we're going to go ahead and take a listen to this, and we'll be right back.
Not a factor. Johnson is the only
Of all time.
That's not even close. Magic Johnson is the only player who I've seen, there's only 2 or 3 of them, who could dominate a game at that position without putting the ball in the basket. Curry doesn't score, he's not a factor. Magic can go in there, take 2 shots, and dominate a game. His rebounding, his passing, his fast break ability. He's 6'8". Magic Johnson, and I love Curry. And we all know he's a wonderful shooter, but he is not Magic Johnson. I'm sorry. He's not in the same discussion. That is blasphemy to put him in Magic Johnson's category. Magic Johnson? Magic Johnson, you could argue, is a top 3-4 player in the history of the National Basketball Association.
Facts.
Magic Johnson, and again, what is the definition of a point guard? You know what the definition? Bob Cousy always used to say this.
Hey, look at my Celtics.
When you cross midcourt, your first objective is to get a teammate a good shot. Magic Johnson, when he crossed midcourt, his first objective was to get a teammate a good shot. Curry, in a lot of ways, his first objective is what 35-footer I can make. And that's nothing wrong with that. But that's different.
I totally agree. Like Magic Johnson was a general, and he his vibe in the way how he dictated the court when he did have the ball is just something completely different. It's not the same effect of like Steph Curry. So I totally get him. Where I look at Steph Curry as though he is, when it comes to the other skill sets or the other abilities that a point guard possess, I feel like all the rest of that comes after his ability to shoot. And which I don't feel that way about Magic Johnson. I feel like his ability was to direct. His ability was to, he could garner enough attention that got his teammates open in a way that I don't think Steph Curry can do the same thing. So totally agree with this.
Different than being a point guard. Magic's job is to be a point guard. And one other thing, running a fast break.
Facts.
It's not even discussable.
Facts.
Curry, nobody, and I watched this since 1960s, nobody ran a fast break in the NBA at that position better than him. And
better than Magic.
He rebounded the ball. He's 6'8", not 6'2". He is 6'8". Magic.
6'9".
So even better. Thank you, Steve. You helped my argument. Listen, I love Curry, not as much as he does, as we know, but there is nobody in the history of the NBA who is a better point guard, and he won 5 championships, and a college championship, than Magic Johnson.
Okay, let me say this, because
shout out Michigan.
We've made news because we had a list, and I talked about Steph Curry, maybe the greatest point guard ever, and all of this other stuff, okay? This is not a debate. I'm just going to educate the viewers out there just like Doggy just did. And I'm gonna pay tribute to you, the historian that you are, to your colleague at Mad Dog Radio, Eddie Johnson, who was filling in the morning.
Good guy. He's very
good guy.
Excellent.
Terrific NBA player throughout. I mean, he was giving lessons this morning on this very topic.
Oh, he was. Good job, Steve. I didn't
because
see that.
He brought you up too. He didn't name you by name, but everybody knew who he was talking about, right? And he was talking about you, and he said because he knows his history. And Magic Johnson, he said, is not even close. Magic Johnson's the greatest point guard in NBA history. Y'all don't know what y'all talk about. Blah 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 blah. And he was educating folks and uttered the word facilitator, and I'll get to that in a second. But before I do, I have to read you a text that I received this morning at 5:54 a.m. Good morning, sir.
I'm sorry. Y'all know the competitor, like, you know how much something has to be on your mind. You got to really be thinking about something. Like something perplexes you to move your soul to text somebody's phone at 5 something in the morning. Like you couldn't even wait. You ain't even waiting until lunchtime. You ain't even fucking waiting for breakfast. You have to get your shit off. I hear you, Michael Jordan. I hear you. Like, what are they? I bet you he was like watching the coverage or listening to the conversations. Like, what are they talking about? Like, what are these niggas talking about? Like, do y'all know what a point guard is? And And as much as, well, let's listen to his text message.
Although greatest of anything is always a debate, I beg to differ on greatest point guard of all time with what you said. Magic Johnson is easily the best point guard of all time. Steph Curry is very close, but not in front of Magic. You must define point guard to really have a serious debate. Steph Curry is by far the best shooter of all time. Yes, his movement has created many shots for his teammates. He's a career 43% three-point shooter. But Magic Johnson invented the triple-double. Not true invented, but makes it more noticeable in terms of the impact on the game. It's a point guard stat, to be honest. Magic was the best. We can go on, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you get the point. By the way, Magic has 5 NBA championships.
Wow.
That quote this morning at 5:45 was from Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Wow, how about that?
And he asked me,
Wow.
he asked me to read it on the air. He said, I'm not backing up for it. He said, I'm tired of this argument about Magic Johnson not being the best point guard in the history of the game. He is the best point guard in the history of basketball.
Facts.
That is from Michael Jordan.
While I do agree with Mad Dog and Michael Jordan, the definitions, who's a true point guard, none of that should matter. In my book, you can be the greatest point guard of all time, averaging 0 assists. If you play the point guard position and you're that good at basketball, you average 50, 60 points a game, and you win championships, then there should be no debate. Obviously, Magic Johnson is the better passer, but Steph Curry is the better shooter. Their play style or skill set isn't what makes them better. What makes them better is who's the better basketball player. Like Michael Jordan, I think Magic Johnson takes a very slight lead to Steph Curry. Magic Johnson has 1 more regular season MVP, 2 more finals MVPs, and 1 more championship. I know he had Kareem, but Steph Curry had KD for 2 of his 4 championships. In fact, if the Warriors lost to Boston, it wouldn't even be close. But since Steph Curry won that finals MVP, and that was by far his most impressive championship, no Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson wasn't at full strength, Steph was by far the best player on the court, averaging 31 a game. To me, that championship was more impressive than any of Magic's 5. But I still give a slight edge to Magic Johnson for the overall consistency and how many more accolades he has. I think for these two, it's about as close as it gets. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Is Steph Curry or Magic Johnson the greatest point guard of all time? And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more NBA content.
Yeah, I mean, even his synopsis didn't, I understand the person who did this video, Black Top Buckets, where he's saying that, Steph Curry, just has almost just as many in terms of like the championships and stuff like that. But the way that Magic Johnson overall, like I said, he has more skill sets in that position. The traditional, how you define that position really does matter because we are talking about point guard. So you can't throw it all out and say, oh, all of that doesn't matter. He's still a better shooter well, that's not all the job requires, right? Like Magic Johnson was so built in a way that he could, go in the middle and post up too, right? Like he just had different elements of his game that made him extremely dangerous. And I don't think anyone fears Steph Curry outside of his ability to shoot the way that you would fear Magic Johnson, his ability to pass, his eye, you know what I mean? To be able to see it, and direct the way he did. And also, like I said, post up, right? And fast break, like the gentleman opened up with saying. So I don't know, each his own, it's all about opinions, each his own. But before we get out of here, because this is not going to be long at all, I do want to talk about something that is in the news today. Don't forget to check out my Twitter. Talking about sports. This was really interesting to me. Antonio Brown is in the news. It says here, Antonio Brown, law enforcement has been ordered to arrest former NFL star wide receiver Antonio Brown after he reportedly missed another child support payment. And like we all know what's going on with Antonio Brown in terms of like him suffering from a lot of people believe, allegedly it's believed that he is exhibiting behavior that is consistent with someone who may have suffered CTE. I hope I said it right. CCE. You know that brain condition that happens with some sports athletes in the NFL. And it's something that can't be detected until someone passes away in terms of testing for it. But it, from his behavior, people do believe that's what it is. That's what's going on. I just found it interesting. He's not paying his child support, and so now he's going to be, jailed for however long it takes for him to decide or for them to get the payment. But this is such an argument within the black community, and a lot of times black women, and Antonio Brown's baby mother is white. A lot of times it is, black women are made to feel as if though they are wrong for going after child support, right? They are wrong for getting a black man arrested for trying to get child support, right? Only because the burden of like what society and what black men endure in terms of like discrimination, racism, and all our hardships that we equally share, black women and men. A lot of black women get guilted into thinking that it is not right, or it's it's sort of like sellout behavior to put a black man on child support and then to get him arrested for it, right? I know a lot of even black men, even listening in Clubhouse, I know black men who will just straight up ask you, do you believe in child support? And it's sort of like, do you believe in taking care of your children? Like, what are you asking me, right? Like, it's the weirdest fucking, I want to be able to not be held responsible if we create a kid, and I want to make sure that me and you are on the same, have the same mindset that, it's not right to put a black man in jail because it's just making it harder for him. So when you're asking me something like that, that is so weird, because I just don't think a real man is wanting to make sure that you're not that type of woman, in terms of the number one priority for any parent should be the kids. Nothing to do with what type of woman I am. The number one priority is the kids. So if your mind is already thinking like that, like, oh, I can't date her, she would put me on child support, I totally agree that I most definitely would not be the one for you. I wouldn't be the one for you, and you're not the one for me. And I just think life is just figuring that out. Great question. But at the same time, you have to understand how it comes across, because why would that bother you? Right? A mature man who goes to work and intends on taking care of his kids, why would that bother you? You wouldn't have to do child support. We could come to some understanding. But if it got to child support, I think sometimes people fail to realize that that's because you didn't want to handle your business, right? So I don't know. I thought it was really interesting because, Antonio Brown is a rich man, right? And so what's his excuse for not paying child support? Right? It's not that he's having financial hardships or any of those other things. And as much, if you do have to pay child support, it does. And if you don't have it and you get behind and you're not working the best job, I can see most definitely you feeling as if though it's, holding you down and all this other stuff. Most definitely can feel that. I understand the thoughts, but that's your responsibility, and there's no getting around that in life. But that's not the case when it comes to him. So it's just really interesting to see, no matter what, you have men out here like a Future and all these other gentlemen, and Tyrese, who have a problem with handling their businesses when it comes to their children. But we see them flex in other types of ways, right? We see Future talking about, paying $300,000 to take his ex-girlfriend, Lori Harvey, and her friends to Jamaica. Right? But you barely want to pay $5,000 or $10,000 a month for your children, and you got like 8 or 9 of them, right? And I did the math on one of your kids. It came out to like $60,000 a year. You took a trip 3 times that amount. Really 4 times that amount. 5 times. Like, you took a trip like 5 times that amount. Right? So for me, it's sort of like, like I said, y'all want us to celebrate these niggas as, something special and uphold them and support them. But then they doing shit that does not imply that they are community first, family first, or give a fuck about anybody outside of themselves first. Tyrese want to cry about the damn child support, made it worse on himself, acting like a big old baby. But when you did that motherfucking cribs, you was okay with showing your house and your Benny Hannas in the fucking in the backyard. Maybe you need to get that shit out there and pay Samantha her money. All right, y'all. That's all I got here. Y'all know how we do here. We keep it bougie SF. We keep it posh SF. We keep it black SF. Y'all keep being blessed SF. And y'all be black, y'all. Kiss, 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 kiss. And don't you forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out. Bye.